Wanda Vaginaugh, and my dad, Henry Vaginaugh, came to Sulphur Springs in 1918 on the Orphan Train. There was 2 brothers and a sister. The older brother, he was sent somewhere, but they didn't treat him very well, so I don't know if any of you remember Sydney Bryce. She worked for, she was in the Children's Aid Society, and she helped her mother. And when my uncle Fred Vaginaugh, he went to this farm or place, and they would come to town, and they would leave him to take care of the stock and everything. Well, he didn't like that. And so Sydney told me that one day she was driving down to see about him because she had heard that he wasn't happy. And she said that she saw him and he had a suitcase. Well, she picked him up, and come to find out the suitcase was full of dynamite, and he was going to blow those people up. So he was adopted, not adopted, he never was really adopted, but he, my Aunt Anna Vaginaugh was adopted by the Gibsons in Winsboro. And so my Uncle Fred went to Winsboro, and they raised him too. But they had sent for her. You know, they got her off the Orphan Train. And then my younger uncle, he was, they dropped him off, I think, in Denton or somewhere in that area, and he was just a little guy. He was just, I don't even know if he was 3 yet. He was raised as a foster child, and the contract that they had with the Orphan Train, with the kids that came on the Orphan Train, the contract was that they would raise the child as their own, and then when he and educate him, and he could take their name, or he could keep his own name, but he was so small, but he took their name. And then just a few years ago when he died, his kids, they were so interested in the Orphan Train, and they always wondered what the name Vaginaugh, but when he died, they had a brick put, it's kind of like our Veterans Memorial here in Sulphur Springs. They put bricks in, that's in Lubbock, Texas. Now we're getting back to my dad. My dad was about 9 when he got here. I believe it was about 9 years old, and he was taken by the Sheltons, and he was raised by them and grew up with the Addleses and the Sheltons, which is both old families here. And he was raised with Joed Addlesey and Bob Shelton and Merle Addlesey, and the Sunshine Boys is what I'm remembering right now. But anyway, he was allowed to take the horse in the buggy, and I probably, but Mr. Shelton's son wasn't allowed to do that, but he could go get him a little bit of bootleg because he was, he was kind of free to do that because, I guess because he was an orphan, I don't know why. But anyway, he lived here, he lived in Raleigh for, he came to Sulphur Springs and lived in Raleigh Springs, and then he moved to Lubbock, Texas. But all the time that he was growing up, he always wondered where his dad was. And he never knew about his daddy. He would remember things like he could remember a clock in New York and he could remember his dad coming up the driveway and picking him up, you know, and tossing him up. And he could remember his mother, but they couldn't remember why they were in the orphan home, and they were put in the Catholic orphanage first, and then they went to who's that guy that took the orphans? Well, I'm not sure, this is a long time ago. And all my records are at home, you know, thrown here and there. But anyway, he searched after he married. My mother and him searched, and like you said, every time they would get close to finding something, the records would either be burned or the whole system was burned, or the person that was looking would get sick and die. But the last few years, my cousin in Winsboro has done some research, and she's found out that the daddy, they thought that he probably died or something, but she's found out that he was probably in the service and couldn't take care of the poor kids. So, I don't know, we did get a death certificate for his mother, but we never have found out anything about his daddy. And my dad used to say, when I was a kid growing up, he'd say, I dreamed last night that I saw my dad. So he's in heaven now, and maybe his dad's there too.